It is just taking some time. Good afternoon and welcome to another exciting episode of Entab CampusCare EdTalks, a platform where leaders and educators express their viewpoints on burning topics related to education. So before I begin, let me quickly introduce Entab to you. We are a 20-year-old IT company engaged in providing school ERP, CRM, and mobile apps to top schools in India to help them transform from good schools to the best schools. Now you must be wondering why an IT company is holding such events. We understand that there is a need for a common platform wherein the educators shall express their viewpoints. Thus, we host Campus Care EdTalks. Welcome to all the viewers who are watching our show. If you've not subscribed to our channel, hit that button, click the bell icon for regular updates. As someone said, if you only measure the statistics, you miss the human aspect. In India, students' level of learning is measured through their reading, writing, and arithmetic abilities. Although prerequisite, these are not sufficient for excelling as individuals in the 21st century, for preparing future leaders within the nation, and for expediting growth of a nation into an economic powerhouse. In our view, we need to equip the students with new standard skills so that they can apply the academic learning innovatively and overcome any new situations in the day-to-day challenges in their lives and in the society. While this method of testing can be provide value to judge the performance, there are also several reasons why standardized testing is bad. It can create major stress. Test scores can affect student confidence. This can also lead to students developing negative attitude about their expertise and an aversion for school. To talk more about this, we have with us Neeti Malhotra ma'am, Headmistress Progressive Education for Indore, Madhya Pradesh, who has more than 12 years of experience in teaching. Her mission is to ignite the spark of enthusiasm for learning in children in a healthy, effective, engaging, and enriching way, an evolving environment by adopting the latest technology and awareness of environment and imbibing human values to make the children global citizens of the world. During her endeavor as an educator, she has been awarded numerous prestigious awards. We welcome you, ma'am, to Campus Care Ed Talks.
Thank you, Kavleen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Actually, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
this is the need of our that we need to discuss everything related to education because I feel education and the various spheres attached to it can be a key or a solution to a number of problems that our country is facing. All of it to you.
Completely agreed, ma'am. Completely agreed. So, ma'am, as we begin our session, ma'am, can anyone call progressive without having standard to compare it with? Hence, to evaluate educational process progress, schools in India still prefer a standardized test. So, what are these standardized tests, and why is it being discussed so much?
Well, Kavleen, I find two keywords, essentially two keywords in your question that is evaluation and standardized test. Well, you did speak about a standard to be set whereby the comparisons can be made. But then who's going to set the standards? And how can the standards be equal to all? Like it's a one size fit all? How's that possible? Society is a combination. It's a combination of learners where they have different pace, they have different ability. So you cannot have the approach of one size fits all. As far as standardized tests are concerned, for the viewers, those who are over here, let me define what a standardized test is. Standardized test, we mean that any form of test which all the test takers are required to answer in the same format, in the same environment. So we are trying to keep a very noble environment or atmosphere for them to answer. And then they're also scored in a standard or a consistent manner. Okay, which makes it possible for us to compare the relative performance, maybe of an individual or a group of individuals. Now, there have been a number of educators, those who find a lot of positive points in these standard tests, that they are free of bias, it is easy. Most of the standardized tests are nowadays computerized. Somehow I feel that they were, you know, designed keeping in mind the teachers and not the students. So to speed up, as you said, for easy corrections and everything, it's very easy to get the score and the statistics from the standardized test, and then you make a comparison, and then it is, graded. The children are graded as F, A plus. So, you are labeling them. The quality check has been done in the factory, and they've been labeled as A plus, F, B, C. Okay, so E's and F's should be rejected. That means you are trying to create a society where an average learner has no right to exist, which isn't fair. Which isn't fair. And all those who think that that human bias can be kept out of standardized tests. Uh, See, these questions in the standardized test are generally taken from a question bank. The style of answering can be either multiple choice or your true and false. Now, is life limited to the choice that the examiner has decided? Secondly, will the choice of questions and the phrasing of questions outrule that human emotion? Maybe I have more inclination towards Indian history. I, as an examiner, involve more questions from Indian history, and the children are prepared for modern history, thinking that now that we are in the 21st century, it should be more about the latest events. So it is impossible to rule out the infringement or the human emotion bias getting into any standardized test also. But yes, that compassion and empathy would be lacking for sure. That human part is not going to be included in the standardized test, because most of the times it is checked by the computers, it is done by the computers. Now, the second point that you raised in your question was evaluation, which I may have very radical thoughts about it. Evaluation, first we should be very clear that what are we evaluating for? What are we evaluating children for? Our object should be that we evaluate children for what they have learned. Unfortunately, our evaluation system evaluates our children for what they have not learned. So the entire purpose of education gets flouted, because one of the basic objective of any educationist or education is inclusion and not exclusion. So I hope I am able to, satisfy you with your question that what are standardized tests and why we are talking so much, because they are unnecessarily increasing stress on our children. For years they work, and those 4 years decide their entire future. I mean, 4 hours, sorry, I correct myself. Their entire effort of all those years is judged by those 2, 3, 4 hours, and that's it.
Completely true, ma'am. Completely true. Thank you for so nicely explaining us what standardized tests are and why are they required or not required right now. So, ma'am, as we were discussing about standardized tests, Indian school has two types of standardized tests: standardized aptitude tests and the standardized achievement tests. As evident, both of the above forms are standardized tests and they are necessary. Then why do many of us believe that standardized tests should be abolished?
See, Kamini, Generally, these standardized tests are based on syllabus or textbooks. Yeah, you'll pick up, and most of the questions, if you're opting for multiple choice questions or true or false questions, we are limiting ourselves, or rather, we are pushing our children to rote learn. Yeah, we are promoting rote learning. So, in for this generation, where every information is just a click away, right? Why to increase the pressure on the children to by heart all those facts and figures which is available to them? Should do you not think that our education and our testing should be in such a way that they're encouraged to create, to synthesize something new from the information that they have, or the concepts they have learned? See, that is the prime motto of education, to add to the society to its advantage from already what has been created. But how are we teaching? We are teaching sciences also like history. This happened, this happened, this happened. So what? Now what? We aren't taking our children to take a step, because we'll be testing them on this only. You have to know that this happened in this year and this is how it works. If you're talking of science, if you're talking of English, okay, this is the story, this is what the poet wants to say, and therefore you have to write your answer this way. Why? And with that limited scope, we are killing the creativity of the child. Who says a flower has to be red and the leaves have to be green? Have you not seen purple leaves? But if a child draws purple leaves, it will be, no, no, beta, color it green. The leaves have to be green. So we are not pushing them for creativity. We are not pushing them to assimilate the information and synthesize something new out of it. This is now because the entire focus gets shifted to why this should be abolished, why we are talking so much about. So the entire focus gets shifted to learn it, learn it to score better marks. Even the teachers would be working to, help the children crack these exams. For board examination, I mean, in India, you can take board examination as an example of standardized examination. So if you want to get good marks in board examination, this is how you have to write your answer. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Let the child write the way he wants to write. So we are not educating children, we are training our children. We are training our children to crack the exams. Let's take the most spoken about exam of JEE. These exams become the breeding ground for these coaching classes. They train the children so that clearance of that exam or entry into that institute is more satisfying for a student than what he is going to learn. Okay, I've been selected, period, now my life is set. And then you see the number of dropouts in the college because the child has never had the aptitude for that, but he was trained by his trainers or his teachers. So the entire shift is not, I mean, the focus is not on learning, the focus is on how to crack the exams, how to score well. Now, if this is what we are teaching our children for, then we may go for standardized tests. If learning is the prime objective, then evaluation should have a very different structure and a very different shape than what it is right now in our country.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. And I hope your message reaches the right ears and they know why do we have to train the students or make them learn, ma'am. Very, very
Right.
nicely pointed out. So, ma'am, as we live in a multicultural society, one crucial question is, are standardized tests biased against certain social class, racial, or ethnic groups? The question is much more complicated than it seems because it has bias has a variety of meanings. So what is your point of view on this?
If I have to talk of my country, I am very proud of my nation and I'm a very proud Indian, but still, we have a number of problems. I don't want to, generally, I avoid talking about the problems that my country is facing. Rather, we should work to, overcome these problems. But yes, in a country like India, where you have a large rural population existing, where we are still struggling to get the children to the school. That midday meal is an attraction for a child to come and attend the school, where language is a big barrier. There are so many languages spoken in India. So maybe the language in which standardized test is prepared is something what a child never understands. So that does not mean that they do not have talent. But with this style of testing, we are pushing them into darkness. I very strongly believe that there is a lot of talent in our country, but that talent has to be harnessed. With these kind of tests, we'll be losing that talent. Not only that, like even if you compare the education in a private school and in a government school, the education or the imparting of this learning process is very, very different. Our government schools are still struggling to get a proper, you know, neat and clean toilets for boys and girls, whereas we have private schools which are equipped with uh, the best of infrastructure. So when the basis of imparting education are different, where does the scope of standardized test fit in this entire scenario? I mean, I find it very ridiculous to have one test all across the country where we know that the standards are so different. There are so many problems that we are facing. Let's help each other overcome those problems. Then we will think of one common evaluation.
Completely agreed, ma'am. Completely agreed. But, ma'am, we cannot ignore the saying that goes, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its entire life believing that it is a failure. Non believers of standardized testing are basically questioning the reliability and validity of the system entirely. So, what is your take? What do you want to tell the viewers about this, ma'am?
Kapil, your question makes me feel that at least I've influenced you with my views on standardized testing. Well, I cannot agree less to this. Uh, of course, we have to evaluate, but our focus should be to evaluate the achievements. As you said, you cannot judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. It will never be able to do that. That's exactly what I'm trying to, my emphasis is on this only, that every individual is unique. They have their unique abilities, they have their strengths, and they have their weakness. So so if I'm unable to learn mathematics at a particular pace which is expected of me at in a particular standard, let's say I'm not able to do maths, so what would my so-called examination do? It would label me with an F. You will overlook all my other abilities that I have. Maybe I'm very good with my languages, I am very good at social studies, my life skills, I am very affectionate child, I am one who's ready to help everyone, but everything is overlooked because I was not able to do well in my math subject. Maybe it's that I am not mentally matured enough to learn those topics at this moment. I mean, what harm it is if I acquire these skills a little later? What if I am not very comfortable with division in standard 3 and I learn my division in standard 4? Why the race? As I said, education is more about inclusion rather than exclusion. Why are you excluding me? You will mark me fail and keep me in the same standard, affecting my confidence, affecting, very severely harming my self esteem even as a young child. So, if you really have to evaluate me, as you said, that if we have to evaluate the children, why can't you compare my achievements with my previous achievements? If I've excelled, if I have shown improvement, I should be graded on that. Why do you have to compare me with some other child? You and me are not similar. You will have different pace of learning. I have different pace of learning. Why should there be comparison? Why are we pushing our children into this cutthroat competition? If they have to compete, they should compete with themselves and help the child identify their strengths. The ability of fish is to swim. Help her identify, sweetheart, you can swim very well. Go. You will excel in that field. Why are we failing in this? Our evaluation system completely fails into that. So we just have to understand that every child learns differently, matures at different stage, and if there is a delay in learning in a particular skill, wait, allow the child to kind of attain that sense for that skill. You know, for example, let's make it that after every 4 years, these are the set objectives which the child should have acquired, right from 1 to 4, 4 to 8, whatever. So he has this span of 4 years to cover all these objectives which have been set for the child. But इधर तो बस ये इस साल में if you have not done this, okay, you cannot be promoted to the next class. Why? Why aren't you taking into account the other fields where he has excelled so well? So somehow, my opinion about evaluation, my opinion about who wants to be put to test. Do you like to be tested? You may be very good at so many skills. Would you want to be tested? The test should be an overall understanding of your skills and of your strengths. That is what the educators should be working at. And I'm sorry we don't.
Ma'am, with this spirit, as we know, as you're talking, Finland is believed to have one of the best education system. It does not really rely on cramming test books, as you said, that we should not judge a kid on one ability. It creates an environment of holistic learning, in fact. There are fewer teachers and students in Finnish schools. So students in Finland often have the same teacher also for 6 years for their education. So, how does this kind of education help the student?
Uh, say, I know that Finland has made a number of radical changes in their education system. There is like the group to which a teacher is attending is small. Now, in such a situation, what happens is there is a bond which develops, and a teacher who's observing the child for all the way for 6 years. I mean, it is impossible for her to miss out on the strengths and weaknesses of a child. Point one, there is a strong bond with the teacher. Two, with this strong bond, that factor of fear is completely overruled. Uh, One of the biggest deterrent in learning is fear and anxiety. Fear of being mocked by peers, fear of being rebuked by teachers. So now, when that bond has been established, when the teacher has understood the strengths and weaknesses of her students, of her or his students, so obviously, I would work on the strengths so that the child excels in his strengths and would focus on his weaknesses and help the child to overcome his weaknesses. Not that every child will overcome and excel in the areas where he exhibits some weakness, but at least as a teacher, I would know what is the best way to teach this child. Now, as I said earlier, also, one size fitting all is not possible. So, if a child is weak in arithmetic, as you said, this is one of the most dreaded subject, and children generally find it very dry. Maybe I, as a teacher, will have to change my approach for that child, right? And uh, then it could be when you involve children into learning, when your group is small, you can give them a chance. They get involved into learning. You get to understand what's going on in their mind. What are the apprehensions about anything, even if it is at a senior level? Then you can work to help them out of it. Then you can help them to create something new, as I said, from what has already been done in the past, because that is one of the main objective of the education. How can you add to the society for its advantage? Forget it if you cannot add it to the society, at least add to your advantage to groom yourself better. I think with that small focus group, with knowing your children so well, and with that bond, obviously, again, the human angle, the compassion, the empathy coming into it, then yes, you will achieve the real purpose of education rather than just testing them for some grades, which would become meaningless. Do you remember? I mean, is anyone question after a few years what were your grades in class 10? I don't remember what were my grades in class 12. So if I don't know, I think I did not do very well in mathematics, but now I can teach mathematics up to class 10. So you cannot judge me by my results over there when probably I didn't have the maturity for the subject then.
Completely agreed, ma'am. Completely agreed. I also was very horrible at maths, but now I do teach my brother some maths questions and equations. So that is just
Because
the
you
time.
that's just the maturity we may attain at different levels, uh, but you these gradings of F and E, ignoring what the child has learned in all these years and just focusing on one test is very unfair for the students, because this F in my mark sheet, which becomes a testament for the parents and everything, this becomes the prologue for my future. This is the pure in which the children live today.
Completely
It
agreed.
doesn't
Yes.
work that way. Children, please relax. Give in your best. That is the message that I would want to give to them.
So, all
Put
the
in your
viewers,
effort.
all the students listening to ma'am, please take a note of it and don't worry. Your life does not end with the results that you get
Exactly.
on the report cards. So, ma'am,
True, very true.
yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, as we were discussing, that standardized testing is not just the way to measure the progress of a child. We know that it cannot measure all the unique skills, such as the student's progresses, the soft skill he has, the reasonings, etc. So, ma'am, what is your take? How much do you agree to this, ma'am? We cannot. How will we do this?
See, I do understand that in a country, I mean, such a large country like India, it's very difficult for us to come to, one test or something which is given to all the students across the country. Okay, this is your Bible and you have to by heart it. Mm, Rather, it should be like, as I said, life is very unpredictable, and so is future. All your tests are based on textbooks. I am repeating what I said earlier. That means we are promoting rote learning. We are training our children rather than educating them, because the focus is on to crack the exams. So there is a complete shift from the purpose of education. And life is more about adaptability. Do you teach this adaptability to your child? No, you don't. Life will not throw questions at you from your textbook. So, what is it that we have to teach our children? We have to teach our children to learn how to learn and not what to learn. Rather, here the focus is what to learn so that you can crack the exams. If you have the skill of how to learn, there is abundant information available, and then from the challenges that come across to you in your life, you just have to learn how to make use of this information and synthesize it to create something which would be beneficial for you and for your life.
Completely agreed, ma'am. So true. And I hope your message does reach the right ears and they get a lesson, they get a positive note to work upon now. So, with this, we come to the end of our webinar. Before closing, ma'am, any message to our aspiring teachers, our viewers, the students watching the show?
Well, to the teachers, please come out of this textbook thing. You can education cannot be limited to textbooks. At least in our school, we do not have textbooks till class 7. So as a teacher, you will have to get into the minds of your children, understand what is their interest, teach something which is suitable for the coming years. It is not necessary that what was taught to you. I give you a simple example of fractions. Now, where do we use fractions? We are into decimals now. But just because it is in the syllabus, it has to be passed on. Give them something which is more useful. As I said, 10 years back, 10 years back, if somebody spoke of, maybe 15 years back, if someone spoke of computer science or doing computer engineering in India, uh, I remember parents telling, oh, it will take years for computers to reach India and that kind of technology. Get into mechanical engineering, get into chemical engineering. Did we know that technology is going to explode like this onto all of us? So you do not know what is there 10 years from now. So if you are actually preparing them for future, prepare them to adapt to the challenges of life, prepare them with the ability to know how to learn, come out of this entire bookish system, focus on the learning that takes place in your class, not on. I do understand the plight of teachers where a teacher's ability is also judged upon the scores his or her children score in the standardized test. Uske class mein all of them cleared this 100% result and all that. For well, if you are doing your job of teaching and passing on the learning aspects of your subject, believe me, they will score well. You don't have to train them, just focus on their education part. And as far as for the parents, accept your child. We all want a super child, but we are not super parents. So kindly do not expect that your child is going to get A plus in all the spheres of school life, be it academics, and they want the children to participate in various activities, and there too they want them to excel. Accept your child the way he is. Keep on encouraging him to work hard, encouraging him. Okay, have a dialogue with them. That's the best way to keep your children involved with you all and to understand the stresses that they are going. It is not the load which is going to break them. It is the generally the aspirations and the way they carry their this load which breaks the child. So please be very particular. Establish a strong bond with your children so that they're free to talk about all their fears and all their anxieties. And for the students, your report card is not the final statement coming down from God. There are lot many opportunities which are going to come your way. Just uh, harness your potentials, just hone your skills and try to overcome your weakness. Nobody is perfect. Nobody on this earth is perfect. We all have our flaws and we all have our positives. You just have to identify that, work on it, and when that dialogue is created